On three, two, and one.
Welcome to another episode of 2-in-1 with Mike and Mike. This is your host, Michael Vetrano, along with my partner in crime, Michael Torriero. Today's guest is the pride of Almaty, Georgia. She's the pride of the U.S. Army. She's the pride of the United States of America. She's the first Black woman to win a world championship. That's Iris Smith. How are you, Iris?
Hi, I'm good.
Good to see you.
Iris, where are you coming to us from? Are you coming to us from Colorado Springs? So you come from the...
Yes, I'm here at Colorado Springs, Colorado.
So Iris, we talked off the air. We're super excited to talk to you. Again, on behalf of everyone, thank you for your service to the country. And really your resume is outstanding. Right off the bat, when I started, going over your bio the last couple of days, I mean, really, to me, Iris Smith, and you should be, let it be known, in my opinion and everyone's opinion, you're one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the United States. Men, women, boy, girl, you're one of the greatest wrestlers that we have. I mean, you are a 13-time world team member. I can't even process that. A 13-time.
That's this many fingers.
It's ridiculous.
This. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So right off the bat, look, I ask everyone this is, and hopefully this is an easy question, but how did you get started in our great sport? Obviously I know you came from a large family and you gravitated. How did you get started in the sport? And, kind of walk us through. How old were you? What was your start? And we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, well, I was 14 and I got it I got kind of drawn to it from my brother, my oldest brother. He was on the wrestling team and I used to go to his tournaments, support him, and my family was he played football, but then he started doing wrestling just for the conditioning part of it. And no matter what, we was going to support him. And I would go to his tournaments and I was going through the stage where I like to think I'm pretty girly girl. So I was just being the girl, his little sister at a tournament, and he's all over me after he won regionals and was excited. And I, just from picking up things, watching him compete, I arm spin him, and his coach is like, "Oh, you're coming out for the wrestling." And from then on, I was just like, nah, it's a guy's sport or whatever. The coach did not let that rest. He talked to my mom. He said that he thought that I had potential. He got my mom to talk me into wrestling. He said, no pressure, just come out for a couple of practices. And at the end of the week, see if you like it or not. And so I tried that out. Second day of wrestling practice, I broke my ankle. It was summer. It was a crazy summer. So, but it was something about it. I liked it. I mean, even
get out of here. So you broke your ankle and then continued to love it immediately. I mean, you still went to do it, really?
I did. Well, I felt like wrestling owed me something, and so I was like,
"You got it."
I spent an entire year in a cast and couldn't go swimming, couldn't do anything, and when the season started the following school year, I was like, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it out. Since it was like the second day of practice, I didn't really experience it, and I kind of was hooked.
Well, I mean that's obviously an amazing story, and I don't want to say we're grateful that you broke a limb, but certainly it definitely hopefully motivated you. So at what point you said you were like 13, 14 years old? I think you grew up in Albany, Georgia, right? At what point did you kind of take it seriously from, this is a novelty, I broke a limb, wrestling owes me something? When did you start to become Iris Smith? Like, when did you become serious?
Excuse me. I think like in high school, I was kind of like going back and forth. It was being in South Georgia at first. Wrestling, it was popular, but it wasn't as popular as some states. And being a female doing it, I kind of got approached by a lot of things. It was more so it wasn't proper for young ladies to wrestle. You shouldn't be doing this. But my brother wrestled at 189. My brother was supportive. The coach was supportive. And so therefore the team, they was led by those two. So I was always supported, and plus my mom and my father supported me. So I felt like, okay, this is something that I need to, it was, I don't know. I was winning. I think they just winning, like starting to like, hey, this is something I'm pretty good at. And when my coach had had a sit down, and he was like, "Hey, so what do you want to do after high school? Is this something that you possibly would like to do in the Olympics?" I mean, it wasn't an official Olympic sport at that time, but it was women's world championships. It was already going on since 1986. And that was like, let's see, this happened in 95.
How old were you when you were asked that question, Iris?
I had to be like 15.
And who asked you that? The high school coach?
Yes. It's
what is his name? He needs a shout out for being such a
White. Coach Anthony White. And
Got
so
we're definitely grateful to Coach White for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes, I am very grateful. I wouldn't be here today talking to you guys if it wasn't. Sure.
So I just look. I'm just hung up on the fact. I mean, I'm reading over your credentials, and 13-time world team member, multiple-time national championship, right? So you also beat your win at the World Championships was over Kyoto Hamaguchi, right? And for us wrestling nuts, she had an amazing career, right? She was a 5 or 6 time world champ, I think, defending when you beat her, right? Yes. So not only were you trying to look to win your first world title, not only were you getting, obviously as we talked about, the first Black woman to be a world champion, you beat, arguably one of the greatest women's wrestlers ever, right? So what was that like when you finally got to the pinnacle? You were a world champ, and you broke deck wrestling. What did that feel like?
Shoot, it's hard to explain. I initially went in. I had nothing to lose, of course. When I won my title, at the time, the U.S. Didn't have any gold medals at the time, like for that year. And I felt not only I've came this far, I'm right here, right now. Somebody got to win. Why not me? My head coach, Sean Lewis from the WKF, always said that. And so it was just like, he was there also by my side, and he was just like, we didn't come here for no silver medal. So it was like, regardless of how many people thought I wouldn't win or succeed inside that match, I was coming out at the end of that match with my hand raised, and I had no doubts. And I think once I got in the zone, the rest is history.
For sure.
So kind of in that, I just want to make a couple points of just, how notable it is, and maybe you can speak on it a little bit, is the foresight or just the relevancy to asking the right question of making the world completely flat for a young girl at 15, not asking you to win a county title, not asking you about winning a state title or a national title even, but, really painting the globe out there for you to become Olympic champion. Which I just think is, I know that in my own personal career, I was framed very small. That's winning a county and state title was, the best that you could do. It wasn't never framed really much bigger than that. So I try to make a point now as a coach to try to do what your coach did. Do you think that you ever reflect on that and think about that and try to, impart that on any young athletes or coaches that you work with?
Oh, yes. I all the time. I'm like, okay, so I'm all about being present right now. I try to push them to be able to, okay, so what's your goal? What do you want to go down in history for? And so I'm constantly like, hey, I can't want to win more than you do. You tell me what you want. But this is all our goals. We want you to win. We want you to become to make Olympic team, to win a gold medal or medal period. We're all for it. So yeah, I'm constantly pushing my athletes for it.
So you have a resume, much like my hometown hero, girl Jenna Burkhart, who grew up in my hometown. Shout out to both my brothers, but my older brother was a military war hero, 3 branches, two tours in Iraq. And he often speaks about what he's gone through at boot camp, because he went through kind of a few of them, and that even if you're the best, that the drill sergeant will come over and talk to you about, if you're really the best, Mr. Torriero, whatever they call you, Soldier Torriero, then the other people around you wouldn't be failing. you know, and they really teach this team above oneself. You went into the 2001 World Championships and you weren't able to defend your title. You had to do something bigger than yourself and, you know, be active, you know, military personnel. You know, talk about that experience and what you went through, you know, just kind of looking at it in hindsight, you know, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So my plan was originally, so the Army was always something that I wanted to pursue. My father was in the Army. My grandfather was in the Army. It's just, I always wanted to be a soldier. But when I became aware of the World Class Athlete program, I was like, okay, so I can represent my country, do something I love, and be a soldier at the same time. So the World Championships was supposed to happen, and 9/11 happened. The World Champion, I think it was supposed to be in August. Sometime it was right before 9/11.
And Madison Square Garden, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Was it going to be in the Garden? Yeah. Yep.
Yes. And so I was already committed. I already know you're a soldier first. I mean, like, I was all in representing the country on and off the mat, no matter what. And when it got pushed back and 9/11 happened, it was definitely something in me. I mean, it was a fire. It was like, I mean, like, this is something more than any other time. I definitely want to represent my country. You know, I'm gonna be that soldier. I'm gonna be that athlete. Whatever happened at that point, I was all in. When I was told that basic training was going to start, well, actually, the basic training was already set. World Championships got pushed back, and there was no changing that. I mean, like, I was all in. And if any time our country needed, I mean, like, I wasn't finna back down from our country needing. Like, I'm raising my right hand, like, hey, I swear to defend. And so, regardless of what happened, as the World Championships, I was going to do that. During basic training, everyone was told, you know, pretty much going to war. At that time, I didn't know what my future held, but it's something about, like, regardless if I had to go and fight, okay, I would have went. But if I didn't, I had to fight on a mat. I mean, like, I'm carrying the other soldier's ruck. I mean, like, I'm
Wrestling, a sport measured by technique, mental toughness, discipline, and persistence. But it also brings children with all skill levels interested in the sport in droves when there's great coaching. Team Purcell Training Center in Iowa is at the epicenter of great wrestling. Being one of the best youth clubs in the Midwest, the center has a deep understanding for community and wellness. At the top of their game, they may be in Iowa, but they have nationwide appeal and a national model for success. Run by U.S. Veterans National Champion Anthony Purcell, Purcell's vision and mission of the center is to build children from the ground up, with their wellness in mind. To Purcell, it doesn't matter if the children are novice wrestlers or state champions. His goal is to build character, create a positive, nurturing, and spirited environment, and to produce respectful ambassadors in his community. The training center benefits people from all ages, ranging from the average fitness workout to mixed martial arts, specialized youth training, and self-defense. Purcell Training Center, where excellence is the standard.
I mean, like, I'm representing not only myself, my family, my country, but the entire military, you know. So it was even more weight on my shoulders that I was more than willing to carry.
So I want to talk a little bit about, and we talk a little about what's your MOS, meaning what is your job and your role besides obviously an incredible world-class athlete? What is your role in the military?
I'm an 88 Mike. It's a heavy vehicle operator. And so pretty much any of those big trucks or anything like that, I get licensed to drive it and ensure that everything for us, like troops, supplies, whatever, I make it there.
So, I mean, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that, you know, obviously that type of role with your resume. So if I'm not mistaken, currently, you know, you competed, you know, you had a long career, well into your, into your 30s. Now, are you're the way you're still active, you're coaching, right? So I wanted you to kind of talk about, I ask every coach this question, right? Was it harder to win a match at the senior level, or to coach one of your athletes at the senior level? What's harder, to coach or to be, to wrestling out there against, Hamaguchi from Jen? That might be a little bit of a difficult question because she's obviously special, but.
Well, I've, so it's different. I mean, like, on the mat, it's just you, it's you and your opponent. But when you look in the mirror, if you've done the right thing and everything it takes to require. And at the end of the day, have you done everything? And if you lose, okay, so maybe I should have, stayed longer. Maybe I should have took that shot. Maybe I shouldn't have procrastinated. Whatever reason you have, it's just you. You have no one else to blame. But when you're coaching, it's not just one match that you lose. You lose for every single one of your athletes. It's hard. I mean, it's way harder. I mean, like, I hate losing no matter what. Like when I was competing, no matter what, I didn't like to lose. But I mean, like, I feel even more, you feel like pain for your athletes. You feel sorry. You feel like, what could you have done? And it's not just that one thing. It's like all of them. So yeah, I think it's harder, coach.
So, I think they call it meritocracy, right? That's just the ability to get to the top based solely on your skills. In the real world, systemic racism, real thing, being of the female gender has been an issue. Now that you are, at the WCAP program, what are some of the challenges, not spoken to that, but that, because I think that I feel like in 2020 that we're in a great place. I really do. Especially in the wrestling world, because, and I've said this before to Kerry McCoy, I said this to Mike, that I've gotten my ass kicked by every color that there's ever been, so there's no sense of anybody being better than they are. Work ethic gets you pretty far in the wrestling room. But what is the key difference, you think, for those that are men that are looking to coach maybe their daughters and their daughters' friends, if there's youth programming for them, for other coaches that are looking to bring young girls into their high school program? What would you say that the key difference, that if there is one, that a coach should keep in mind when coaching both girls and boys, or bringing them in?
Let's see, I guess. Each athlete, I don't know. I mean, like, each athlete is different. You have your different athletes. I just think that if they continues just to treat them, just like any other wrestler, and keep pushing them, there's this, of course, not the craziness, but everyone needs to, don't be so, okay, girl, I need to take it a little easier on her. No, she needs to be pushed just like the boy would be pushed. But I don't know, me personally, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course.
Kind of say, it was in my mind, I was still a girl. I mean, like, I need to be talked to just like anybody else. I'm part of that team. But at the end of the day, it can be, I mean, we've grown so much from that. It can be overwhelming when you have to deal with all the chaos. Protect your athletes, no matter what, male or female. Protect them from the outside world, inside your room, in the mat, when you're coaching them. Ensure that they're not receiving any kind of craziness from anyone. And I guess I don't think that was a hard question.
I didn't mean to stump you. I just tried to, glean some expertise from, we're seeing women's wrestling growing. We're seeing more girls we're interested in, and more fathers who are willing to put their daughters in it, and who don't have sons and they want to be in the wrestling room. And, I don't have sisters. I can barely, keep a girlfriend. I'm nearly 40 and single. So, I'm not the guy to give, expertise or advice on necessarily coaching a girls program and what they could or could not look for, if there are any things. That was the impetus of the question, if you will.
So, you know, one thing that I, you know, when I interacted with you before the show is you're incredibly, you know, humble. You really are. You're like, you know, this is a little bit of a strange quote, but like, do you know that you're like, do you realize like you're a rock star, like in our sport? Like, I don't think you've realized like, you know, you're incredible. Really, you really are in terms of what you've accomplished, you know, and what you do for the countries. I hope you know that. So my question is, what do you, you know, obviously, as Mike said, and women's wrestling is growing, which is awesome, right? More and more states are sanctioning, meaning having a sanctioned official state tournament. I think we're about half. And this is a question that I ask a lot of people is, do you feel that, we'll say at the middle school and high school level, that girls wrestling, I guess at that point, girls and women's wrestling should be folk style or should it be only freestyle? Like, do you feel that, you know, we should be, I don't want to say wasting time, but we should be spending time on folk style, you know, at the girls, women's folk style, or should be just freestyle? You know,
not to interject, but good question, Mike.
You know,
good question.
I think you probably gave it to me, Mike. It was a
good question. Iris,
well,
please continue.
I did both.
Okay.
But just like if you look at the guy, I mean, like guys' side, I mean, mainly is Greco or freestyle overseas. I mean, for the Olympics. So, I mean, I didn't see a problem with it because I had no choice. That's what I did. But I was drawn to freestyle. Like I was doing both. Like in high school, I was doing folk style. And then during the summer, I was doing freestyle. But when I started competing on the national level, that's when I just went all in towards freestyle. So, I mean, it depends on the athlete. I mean, if they're capable of, if that's the only way, like in high school, like being able to get on the mat and get those matches in, then yeah, continue on folk style and then merge into freestyle. So it's not one or the other. I think it's, why not have both? If that's all you got, as long as they get on the mat.
That's a great answer.
So I have, go ahead. Do you have I do have one more question before Mike, you know, has his, and I'll be quiet after this. I promise, Mike Vetrano. You know, if I were to ask you two things, and we can edit this also, by the way, we'll figure that out. But Iris, if I were to ask you two questions, maybe in one, but, you know, do you have a life mantra? And the second, and maybe it's the same, is what is the best piece of advice that you were given, that you've heard, and maybe that you go and impart on your athletes?
I have to think about the first one. But for the second one, it was more so Sean Lewis, what he said, I stated a little bit earlier. Someone has to win. Why not you? I mean, like I tell him, like, hey, you got to want to win. You know, as long as you want to win, then don't let anyone stop you from doing that. And the harder you work, the more successful you will be. And have faith in yourself. I don't know.
All right. Listen, Sean Lewis is obviously a great role model, and a lot of people look up to Sean. You know, my last question is: look, you talked about sacrifice, and you know, obviously, you know, once you got into the WCAP program, but there was a period that you were, you know, I believe, competing internationally and certainly on the senior circuit nationally. How were you able to, you know, fund all the traveling and all the we'll call entry fees and hotel and lodging? How did you, because I think things are a little bit different now than they were probably when you first started competing. How did you accomplish that? To me, that's another kind of amazing thing too.
Yeah. So prior to joining the Army, I was, Sunkiss was my sponsor. I was on Sunkiss. They sponsored quite a bit of it, like for the tournaments and some travel. But I also worked a part-time job, and my mom made it possible, whatever, my mom and dad, like whatever they needed to do. My coach, Anthony White, we did fundraisers, we did like car washes, we did whatever it needed to ensure that, you know, our team, or me and him, and I had other ladies also that was wrestling along with us, to be able to go to these tournaments. So whatever we needed for us, like out there, getting like donation. I mean, it was something that I don't know. It was different. We had to work hard to make sure that we was able to afford it.
Well, my last question, is there anything that Iris can't do? I mean, you really, you've obviously accomplished, you check all the boxes.
There was an article, Mike, written about Iris Smith. It said that something along the line of she was doing everything, including driving the bus.
Yeah, I mean,
for the team.
Yeah, I mean, look again. I'll just to recap. To me, you should be. You already are thought of, but in every single circle in wrestling, you should be thought of and put on a pedestal of one of the greatest wrestlers that we've had in American history. And I really believe that. I mean, I know you're blushing, but your resume is incredible. You're I believe a staff sergeant in the United States Army. You've done amazing things, and I look forward to you. Obviously, you've transitioned to coaching, so I have no doubt that we're going to have a lot of success with the athletes that you're coaching under your tutelage. And I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for your service. And I hope that you enjoyed coming on Mike and Mike, 2-on-1 with Mike and Mike. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Iris.
Thanks, Iris.
And 1.
Mike, we just spoke to Iris Smith, and again, I said it to her several times. Iris is one of the best wrestlers in American history. If we had a Mount Rushmore, she'd certainly be in the conversation. A 13-time world team member, umpteen national titles. She's the first Black women's world champion. She beat, Kyoto Hamaguchi, which is like the Babe Ruth of women's wrestling, to win a world title. Like pretty much all of our guests, you kind of feel small talking to her. I mean, what she's accomplished is amazing. I'm kind of blown away, and she's so humble.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had the good fortune of one part of my life. I was going out to the Olympic Training Center during the summer times and training out there because of some my coaches, some guys from my team. And I remember Iris Smith from when I was training. And there were some people that you just kind of felt an aura when they walked in the room. And she was definitely one of them. She was, she felt like greatness. And, it's no coincidence that it felt like that when she walked in the room, after you look at her resume.
Yeah. I mean, we're celebrating Black History Month, and to be very candid, I hope that people watch this show and Google and Wikipedia and all those things, and look and feel and look at Iris Smith's resume and have the same thoughts and feelings, because again, she is absolutely deserving. Again, women, men, and anyone that's laced up the wrestling shoes in the U.S. I mean, she's right at the top. So I hope that people enjoyed listening to Iris as much as I did.
Yeah, no.